Hey guys, Luis here, bringing you another video with Follow Me Fishing. But before we get into that, I just want to take this time to thank my viewers, thank those who have subscribed to my channel. Just thank you for your support. Thank you for helping me share my knowledge in fishing with everyone else who wants to learn. So today, it's been really bad weather. It's actually snowing outside right now, so really can't get out there to fish. But I will try to always post one video a week. So this week, I'm going to focus on helping you guys see what I do out there when I catfish. So I know I've shown you my line setup out in the field, but I don't know if you've gotten the actual grasp of it. So my focus today is to show you how I tie my line, what kind of knot I use, what kind of line I use. So today, I am going to take you guys where no other person has gone before, and that is to my tackle box. Alright, so first thing I'm going to pop out of here is going to be my lines. So, got a needle nose plier to cut my lines. Usually, I have a whole bunch of different lines. I'm going to focus specifically on what I use when I go catfishing. We've gone out there twice, both times to Osborndale State Park. So if you live in Connecticut, you hit up Osborndale State Park in Derby, you are going to catch catfish. They have bass out there too, but we haven't been able to catch that. We will, and when I do, I will show you my setup for that. So ideally, anytime you go to the store, I remember when I first started fishing, it was very overwhelming. You have all these different kind of lines, all these different kind of rods and reels, and it just gets crazy. So I do have different lines. These are different weights basically. And I always like using the low vis green. I don't know if you can see that right there. This is a 20-pound low vis green. It is a mono line. It is like a light green color. To me, it kind of makes it seem like it's invisible under the water, so the fish don't really see it. It brings you for a much better presentation of your bait. So what sizes to get? So when I go trout fishing, I use a 6-pound. It's really light. You don't need anything heavy. Anything heavier than that, you might not feel the fun out of it. Also, pole, the size of your pole is very different. But again, I'm going to focus on just catfishing. For catfishing, I personally like to use I like to use my 12-pound line. This one is pretty universal. I use this for catfish. I use this for bass. Normally what's coming out of my main pole is this braided line. This is a 20-pound braided line, just because where I fish, sometimes you can get caught up or snagged. And if you have a braided line, it helps you for a better retrieve without breaking your line or having to lose your lure. It's happened to me before. So braided line comes out of my main pole, and then I attach it with a 12-pound or a 20-pound, depending if I'm going for catfish, carp, depending on the size of the fish. So again, a lot of different lines. I think the most important thing really is the weight of the line. But get out there, try some of these things, and see what works for you. So I personally, what I like to do is I use a 20-pound braided line coming out of my main pole, and then I use a 12-pound line for my lead. You by all means can use a 12-pound line straightforward. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna last. Like I said, I'm a pretty universal user. So the way I set up my line, I'm able to fish just about anything. So again, we're just going to stick with the 12-pound line. We are going to pretend that this is the pole end. This is what's on my reel here, and this is what's coming out from my pole. So what I like to do is I like to attach this to a spin swivel. So let me just take you back into my box here, and we are going to find a little spin quick disconnect swivel. A bunch of stuff here that we are not going to go over yet. That's later on. Like I said, I am focusing specifically on catfish, because that's what we've been catching. If you use this setup when you go out there wherever they have catfish, if you don't know where they have catfish, like I said, they definitely have it in that park we've been going to, and you use this setup, you are going to catch catfish. So I like to use these little spin swivels here. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, it's getting dark. So you connect this end to your fishing line through this loop. It allows for free movement. It spins freely. I like it because you can use it With lures have to have that natural flow, that natural swinging of things, and this allows it to do that. And then it's got a quick disconnect end with a little just clip on and clip off. I like to do that because it allows me for a fast change of my line. I don't have to sit there and tie every time or rip the line every single time. So let's say this is coming out of the pole, okay? And what if the first thing I do with catfishing, I'm sorry, very important step here. The first thing you want to put in there is you want to put in, here we go. I use one of these. So it's got a plastic thing on the end of it, plastic tee. The line goes through here, and then this will just hang from your line. It runs across. And what this does is on here it has another quick disconnect. And on here, you can add your weight. So remember when I was out there, I used weights. The weight helps keep the line on the bottom of the water. Remember that catfish are bottom feeders. So it helps to make sure that your bait gets all the way to the bottom of the water. There's also different kinds of weight. I will show you what I like to do. So we take the line coming out of your pole. You're going to go ahead and put this in through there. Bam. Just like that. Going to take your swivel and you're going to run this right through the loop there. This is much easier when I'm not demonstrating it. So it's through the loop right there. Now what I like to use, the type of knot that I use for everything, and it works for every kind of fish, is what's called a clinch knot. But I kind of did a little modification to it. So once you put it through the loop, the eye of whatever it is you're attaching it to, whether it's your lure, your hook, in this case the swivel, I like to run it through it one more time. Just run it right through, do like another loop. Okay, you're gonna have that circle and you just do your first tighten down like that. And then the reason I use a clinch knot is because it's very easy. You just take your line and you're just gonna turn it. Just turn it, keep your finger there because you're gonna have to run it back through. Just keep turning it, probably maybe like 5-6 turns. Depends on, you know, if you do too little of a turn, it makes it a little less resistant. So once you have that right there where my finger was, you should be able to see the loop. You're gonna take that end of the line, you're gonna run it right through again, and then you just tie it. So it's gonna create like a little knot thing. I don't know if you see it. But you just pull your line hard and it basically ties down into itself. And you're going to have that. So this here is my knot. And it's a clinch knot. Ran twice through the loophole. It is not going to go. It's not going to break. No matter how heavy the fish is, that's going to stay there. And then you just cut off the excess here. We don't need that. There we go. So you'll have that. Now this is coming out of my pole. Alright guys, and then what you have is you should have this when you're done. Alright, and this is not going to go anywhere super tight, no matter how strong the fish is. It's really clinched down. And it's just not going to break. And then what I was using just to show you guys is it's called a barrel swivel with a safety snap. So that's what I like to use. It's from Eagle Claw. You can pick these up at Walmart, or I personally go to Dick's Sporting Goods all the time. And then what I like about these swivels here is, like I said, at the end it's got this little, just like this little clip hook where you can just connect anything you want, whether it's a lure, a hook, or anything right onto the line. So that brings me to the next thing, how I set up the other end. So when I was telling you guys earlier that I like to use a braided line and then I attach that to my 12-pound line, this would normally be my braided line. And then on here, I just attach it could be either my 12-pound, it could be my 20-pound, it could even be my 6-pound, depending on, you know, what kind of fish I'm going for or where you're fishing, really. The lighter the line, the easier the break, the less force it takes to break the line. That's basically what it is. So the way I like to set my other end so that it easily connects on here is I'll take my line again, and I will do what's called like a loop knot. I mean, I don't really know if it's called a loop knot. That's just what I call it because it's a loop. So I'll take my line, I'll just cross it this way like this. Okay, this you might want to look up, just slow it down if anything, because you're going to create a second one, kind of like if you're going to, going to need a little bit longer. And it's almost like you're wrapping it around, okay? And you're going to hold that again. You're going to wrap it around and you're going to hold it. And it's going to show that you have two loops. And you're going to take this line, same line, and you're going to run it between the two loops. Hold that down. You're going to take your hand and you're going to go into the one loop and bring the other loop through it. And then you tighten. Okay? You cut off. It's going to give you something like this. See that? And you just cut off the excess. Should be enough. Just like that. So this part is what I connect to my quick disconnect swivel. Just throw it on there, close it, and I am ready to use it with whatever else I have on the other end. So I'll use this to set up my lures. I like to use a lot of chatterbaits or hook worms or anything like that for some bass. In this case, we've been doing catfish, so the other end is going to have a circle hook. You don't have to use a circle hook for the catfish. You can use a regular size hook or a regular hook, but I like using circle hooks because, like I said, it's for a catch and release. It hooks the fish right in the corner of the mouth, and that way you can just easily remove it without hurting the fish. So bringing out the other box with the hooks. All right, let's see here. So what I personally like to use, what I've been fishing with, is crankshaft 4-0, meaning 4-aught octopus circle. That's the hook I've been using. That's what I've been catching the catfish with, and it looks just like this. So you see how the hook curves? It's got the inside curve at the end here. This is what hooks in the corner of the mouth instead of up on the roof, or prevents the fish from swallowing and hooking itself in the throat. That way you can easily release it. These are the type of hooks that you don't just want to yank when a fish bites. You want to let the fish take it, and then you just either tighten your drag or you lock the line. That way the hook can set itself. Because the way it works is, if you was to take the hook and let's say the fish goes and eats it and you just yank it out, it's just going to pull right out of the mouth because this part doesn't have, the hook is not sticking out. It's actually bending in. I don't know if you can see that bend right there. So it bends inward. So up here, I can go like this and nothing happens. I would literally have to come this way so I can get caught. And what happens is when the fish takes the line, the hook is set in the mouth like this. When the fish is running with the line, if you just let it go and don't yank it, the hook is like slowly going to work its way out. As it does that, it tends to just turn, because remember, the fish is turning away to swim away. When it turns away, this causes the hook to turn and it grabs it right in the corner of the mouth. Then when it runs, it basically just tightens up and it sets itself. You don't have to pull it. If you pull it, you'll be pulling it right out of the fish's mouth. You're not going to catch anything. Again, you don't have to use this. Ideal sizes are 4-0, which is called 4-aught. You could use a 5-0, even a 6-0, depending on how big the catfish are. I use 4. It's not too big. It's not too small. It's perfect for the catfishes that I've been catching. So then what we do is we take, after the swivel, this is going to be our hook end, this is going to be our whatever hook, lure, anything end that we're using. That's what this is. And then you're going to take that end and you're going to do the same thing that we did in the beginning. Like I said, this clinch knot, it's my universal knot. I use it for everything. So you're just going to go in there twice. I do it twice because it just gives me that extra extra strength on the end of that hook. You don't have to do it twice. You could just run it once. The key thing here again is just going to be your turns. You want to do maybe 5 or 6 turns like I said, and I use this for anything. So I usually go 5, no less than 5. Sometimes I'll go 6, even up to 7, but no less than 5. It's worked for me, so I stick with it. If you feel like just doing 3 or 4, go ahead, but I recommend at least 5. So then what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to run it back towards the opening that we left. I'm going to tighten it. There we go. See? Clenched. Not going anywhere. Super tight. Double. Ran through the loop twice. You cut off the end there. There we go. And that's what you have. So this is your line setup right here, guys. We have the where the weight is going to go. It's going to sink the line to the bottom. It's going to make sure that your bait gets all the way to the end. And as this goes down, this is going to pull it down with it. It's going to make it sink to the bottom. And then talking about this end here, this is where the weights are going to go. Once again, quick snap swivel. I like it because you could just unsnap it, remove the line, and check this out, guys. You can quick disconnect, change it to a lure. As long as you have your lure set up with the same thing, you can just grab it, take that end. Basically, you can do this before you get out there. Just preset everything you think you're going to use, and that way you don't have to waste time tying out there. You could just quick disconnect and quick reconnect, and you have your line there. Here, we can add weights. I like I told you out there, I use, they have big weights, they have small weights. They have these weights here where you have to actually run it through the line. See the hole right there? You run it through the line before you do all your other stuff. But then if you don't want to use weight anymore, you got to cut the line and you got to just do everything all over again. Which is why I prefer these. Again, I love these whole snap thing. Whoever invented this, whoever came up with this idea is a genius. Because again, you just unsnap that, and I use these type of weights that has the loop on there, and I just attach it on there. So these are like 1/2 ounce weights. I like using 2 of them. I mean, they do have, this is a 3 ounce one. They do have a 1 ounce one like this, but I don't know. I like using lightweight and then just add more if I need it. If not, I could just use the 1/2 ounce. Depends on if you have current where you are fishing. You want to go heavier. You want to make sure that line gets to the bottom and is not dragged by the current. So this is how it works. When you toss your line out in the water, this weight is going to, and it slides. It's important for it to slide, especially if you're doing a catfish, because you just reduce your drag, and this allows the fish to take the line without feeling any resistance. If a fish feels resistance, you notice sometimes a fish will get out there and test your line. If they feel resistance, they will not take your bait. So the less resistance of a setup that you have, the better. So this is awesome. It allows the line to slide without the fish feeling the weight or heaviness on the line. This will drop down to the bottom when you cast it. And as you can see, it takes your bait with it and makes sure it hits the bottom. Catfish are bottom feeders. They will be found on the bottom of the water. So this is the setup I use. In terms of baits, guys, I've been using hot dogs when we were out there. I used it twice. I used it the second time because the first time I was using it, I wasn't too sure about it. I've heard of it catfish being caught with hot dogs, but I figured I'd give it a try. I always used to use chicken liver. The chicken liver is too soft. It tends to fall off the hook. You have to create like this housing for it out of like netting or mesh or something like that. And it's just too much work. So the hot dog is awesome. Just take your hot dog. You're going to cut a good size piece. I always thought this was good. And then the way you set it on your hook, you just take your hook, your circle hook if you're using a circle hook, and you take your hot dog, and I kind of tend to set it in the middle, but I don't just hook it because you don't want to break the hot dog too much, because then when you cast, the hot dog will just break off the hook. I like to roll it in first. See that? Roll it in, and then just slowly roll it back the opposite way so that it hooks. And remember, a circle hook, it hooks by turning. So you want to turn the hot dog into it. And there you have it, guys. There's no cracks leading up to the hook, and it's just perfect. And you always want to make sure that this part of the hook is accessible. It has to be able to turn into the fish. The corner of the fish's mouth has to be able to get there. So if you're blocking it, that's not gonna happen. Hot dogs, it's okay. It's ideal because when the fish grabs it, and they're pretty aggressive with it. When they go to grab it, they tear the hot dog off of it anyways, and the hot dog just gets squished through the hook, and the corner of the mouth ends up right there. So this is my setup, guys, for catfishing. Remember, you have your weight, you have your line, you have your hook. You throw it out there, let it hit the bottom of the water, and just make sure there's no loose lines. Make sure your line's nice and tight, and just set it there and wait for catfish to come. Now, if you're there and you're waiting about 15 minutes, change locations, guys. Remember, fishing is not just about sitting out there and leaving your line in the water and hope that something catches it. Fishing is about going out there and finding the fish. Where are they? How are they behaving? In cold waters, they're very, very lethargic. So the last two videos we were out there, it was really cold. We were out there for a little bit, but I was moving around trying to find these catfish. Hot dog does have a scent to it, pretty strong scent, especially if you're talking about catfish. They will detect it. So if you're out there sitting for like 15, if you want to give yourself 20 minutes, nothing's happening, move locations, move somewhere else, cast your line somewhere else, and wait, and you will get it. So this was the setup, guys. This is how I do for catfishing. If you do this setup, you will catch catfish. If you're in Connecticut, you hit Derby, that park we've been going to, obviously you saw, you will find catfish. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Just feel free to hit me up with some comments, any questions, suggestions that you may have. Share my video with others. I'm all about teaching my knowledge in fishing to others. And just like and subscribe, guys. Thank you again for your support, and continue to follow me fishing.